Guys, thanks for tuning in.
And
I'm
Kayla.
Megan.
And it's time to...
And my mic just
Oh no!
fell over.
It's time to panic at the podcast.
It's time to panic at the podcast. I really need to like tighten up the screw because every once in a while it like sits on like a little tiny tripod kind of thing, and every once in a while the mic just kind of flips up and then it's not facing me anymore. So that's fun.
What a great way to start.
All right. Anyway, yeah, well, panicking at the podcast is what we do, and nothing goes as it's supposed to. So we're rolling with it. How are you doing this week, Michaela?
Okie dokie. Honestly, this week's been not great, but we're holding our head high and we're moving on. But I do have an exciting thing to tell you guys about.
Ooh, what's exciting?
I know, a long time ago, probably on one of our first episodes, which at this point they're all kind of blurring together, so I'm pretty sure we talked about this in an early episode.
We did.
Okay, so I decided that I wanted to become a plant mom, and I had planted sunflower seeds and some other things, and I'm happy to report that I have sunflower babies.
Ooh!
Not really.
Hey, when this goes up, let's post a picture on Instagram so you guys can everybody go check out our Instagram. Go see the plant babies.
Well, I call them babies. They're kind of rather large. They're large children, but they're blooming now.
Are you not liking large children? Do you not like large children?
Come on, Kayla. They're like literally. I think one of them is like probably 3 feet tall.
Oh,
yeah. Good. So they're getting real big and starting to bloom, which is very exciting. But that being said, so I'm a good sunflower mom, but I'm having a lot of problems with being a good aloe vera plant mom.
Really? Aloe vera is so easy to take
care of. Like, I'm pretty sure I'm overthinking it. At first, it was definitely that it was in the wrong kind of soil, and so the roots were starting to rot, so I had to replant it. So I think it's still in recovery from that. And then at one point, I think they were in the sun too much because they were starting to brown at the edges. So I'm just trying to figure out where is the best spot for them to live right now.
I'm trying to pull out all my aloe vera knowledge, but I feel like they're like super simple. They like some sun and they like to not be thought of too often.
I think I was thinking of them too often. I was
and treat it like you would treat me.
Okay. Check in on it every now and then.
Give it its alone time, you know? But it's there for you when you're in pain.
Okay.
I mean, that's gonna be my slogan now, you know? Give it this alone time, but it's there for you when you need pain. Or when you're in pain. Not need pain. That's a cactus.
That's a cactus, which I was also trying to grow, by the way. But I had to germinate the seeds. And let me tell you, if you ever decide, I want to grow a cactus, don't do it from seed. Just buy an already baby cactus because it's really hard. The instructions said like you had to germinate the seeds. It could take up to 3 months.
What?
So I was like, okay, whatever. Like, well, we'll wait for it. And it's like keep the soil moist and keep it covered with saran wrap. And I was like, okay, I can totally do that. Yeah, my soil is growing mold, so I uncovered it to try and let some of the moisture out, and it's only just getting worse. So at this point, I'm going to throw the whole thing away because it's disgusting.
Why did you buy cactus seeds? Why didn't you just buy a baby cactus?
Well, it was like a little thing that I found at Walmart in like the gardening section, and it was like on sale for like $5 or something, really cheap.
Probably because it was cute. Work.
Yeah, well, I also bought something from the same like kit brand for bay leaves and tomatoes, and for some reason, first of all, someone stole the tomato packet out of mine and put another basil. So I got double basil instead of basil and
Oh.
tomato. And then I was like, whatever. I like Bailey or basil. I said bay leaves
Mhm.
at some point. I meant basil
Yeah.
leaves. Um, and so that one is also growing mold.
What the
So
heck?
I think it's something faulty with the brand because
Yeah.
soil should not be growing mold like that. It's literally it shouldn't be happening. So
I'll talk to my dad about it, see if he's got any suggestions for you. For
yeah,
those who don't know, my dad's a farmer. I grew up on a farm. I'm a farm kid. Uh,
like you said,
so what?
it literally sounded like you said I'm a fart kid.
No, no, I'm a farm kid.
Are you sure? Are you sure?
I'm pretty dang sure. Yeah, I'm currently on the farm, so yeah. Um, yeah. I don't even know where I was going with that, but I'll ask my dad about that and see if he's got any suggestions for you or my mom. They both know things about soil, so
Yeah. I mean, at this
let
point,
you
I
know.
don't know that I want to try and save the basil just because like it's something that you're going to eat and the soil is moldy. Like, I'm
Yeah.
probably just going to throw it away.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, a lot of the soil is full of like animal crap as fertilizer. So
That's
for
also
most things that you eat. So
true. Yeah, that makes me feel a lot better, Megan.
you're not always the circumstances that you grow up in. Sometimes you can rise above them.
Oh, you can rise above the crowd.
You can. It's pretty
Oh,
spectacular, you know? Rise
or
above the
literally
crap.
rise from the crap.
Yeah.
Hmm,
Yeah.
I like it.
Goals, right?
What a metaphor for life.
Oh.
How's your
Well,
week?
I'm excited that the rest of your plant babies are doing well.
I know.
Um, yeah. So my week is good. Still in Alaska, which isn't bad. It's a good thing. But while I've been in Alaska, um, and I think I talked about this, I started getting my wisdom teeth at almost 27. I'm just over 7, so they're a little late, which if anyone knows me, they know that being late is one of my biggest pet peeves in the whole world.
Yep.
So the fact that my own body is betraying me this way is offensive. Then, so backstory. There's a little backstory to this. Back in high school, I had a horse, and I was assisted off of the horse in a way that resulted in me causing a bunch of strain to my wrist.
Mm.
I thought that I had pulled something really bad, went to the doctor, realized I had tendonitis. He was like, do this, blah, 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 blah. I didn't do any of that. I haven't had an issue with it after it healed until like February of this year. And I worked at a job where I was pretty consistently lifting like 200 pounds and carrying it for long periods of time. Which if you guys haven't seen me, you probably think I'm really fit after hearing that, right? No, I'm not.
Like,
So, anyways, fun
but
fact
but
about
we did
Megan.
used to lift weights, so the muscle memory is there for lifting heavy weights or heavy
Yeah,
things.
yeah, heavy things. Yeah, I picked them up and I put them down.
No way.
But I messed up my wrist again, and I have a huge lump on it, and it never really has fully gone away. But since I've been here, I'm doing something that's really bothering it. Um, and my elbow also hurt. And when I was a kid, I broke my elbow falling off of monkey bars. Strangely enough, my wife broke hers in the same exact way, but she broke her arm, like they're actually arm bones, and I broke something in my elbow.
Is your elbow
Um,
not an arm
but it would have
bone?
been like no, it's like I mean like in the joint. I broke something in
Oh,
my
okay,
joint,
okay.
not like the two bones that go run through
I
your
see.
arm. She broke those. You know
I
what I
got
mean?
you.
Like the difference there. Um, and my elbow has started to hurt now too. So I'm in a wrist brace. My jaw hurts and my elbow hurts.
Oh my god.
And I think partially it might be the cold, but I didn't have this problem in Oregon, and it hasn't been any colder than it is in Oregon
I
last
think it's
year.
just because you're
So
27 and you're getting wisdom and all of the ailments that come with it.
I'm gonna respectfully ask for you to shut up.
I don't think that was very
As
respectful.
respectful as I can ask it. It's okay. You're a young child. You speak only when spoken
No,
to.
I've got my
Little Miss
wisdom teeth.
26-year-old.
I got my wisdom teeth way before you did, madame.
Okay, yeah, but you're still younger than me,
Yeah.
so speak when spoken to.
Freaking rude. I'm gonna do this, ma'am. Just because you're an old crotchety lady doesn't give you the right.
All right. Well, if dog shit, or nope, gotta fix that one. If dog crap shows up outside of your door, it wasn't me.
I don't believe you.
Okay, let's go into this for today because we've been talking for a hot
all
minute.
of this preface, and honestly, let's just be real. We're trying to procrastinate actually talking about this topic because it's a rough one. So
yeah, it's one, and I don't honestly know how deep we'll get into it, but I think it's something that needs to be talked about, and also just so you guys can have that in mind whenever we're talking about things in the future. You can just get a little bit of information on our history a little bit. I think I'll mostly be talking about mine. Michaela is welcome to put in any information she wants. But we just want to give you guys some background on us that you may or may not care to know about. So if you don't want to talk about mental health stuff, then listen next week or listen to our previous ones because that's what we're going to be talking about this week. So
yeah.
But I think it'll be a good one. This is one of my favorite subjects, but also my least favorite subject. So, as a lot of things are. Yeah. So, I don't know. I don't really know where we should start. Should we just start with my history with mental health, or do you have any thoughts there, Michaela? Any questions you have or anything, or should we just dive right in?
I think just kind of tell us what maybe you have had experience with yourself. If you want to go into your personal journey or struggles with mental health, we can definitely talk about all of that. Or we can talk about like us having to work with people that have struggled with mental health. We can also go into that a little bit later as well.
Yeah, I think we should cover that at least a little bit too, because I know that's something that I would really like to get back into doing eventually, and I think you do as well. So, well, I'll just start out with I personally have clinically diagnosed, this is not a self-diagnosis, of anxiety and depression.
Yay.
Possibly more things. It's fun. They give you the diagnosis and then they give you a sticker to make you feel better.
They really?
Actually, they didn't. So.
Oh, wow.
No, I just had to go pay, $80 for my session where they could tell me, hey, this is what you have. And then all of my sessions prior to that. So, I wish they gave me a sticker.
I feel like that's
like hey, you got out of bed today.
Yeah, here's a gold star.
Hey, you showed up not an hour early. You were only 30 minutes early. I'm proud of you.
It's so interesting because is that your anxiety that makes you want to be so early to everything?
112%. Yes.
So my anxiety is more like, I really don't want to go, so let me put it off as long as I possibly can. But then I'm also anxious about being late.
Well, that's a mess. I was almost late to recording this podcast. I was kind of late, and it drove me insane. Like, it really brought my mood down because it was like, I'm gonna be late. Though I know you, Michaela, you are pretty often a few minutes late to things, and so I know of all people who's gonna give me grace, it's gonna be you. It shouldn't have bothered me as much as it did, but it was like, oh my god, I have to be there on time. If I'm not early, I'm late. And so that's my thing, is that I do not want to be sitting down at 4:00 or whatever time to be doing something, I would like to be sitting down at 3:45 to sit there and be like, why are you here? Why are you so early? To beat myself up just a little bit more. Really.
See, I'm definitely the
That's healthy.
person that I would like to be the one that's there early, but then if I'm there early, I don't know what to do with myself. So I'm just like, I'm going to get there exactly on the dot. That's when I'm going to get there because that's when I'm supposed to be there. So I'm not late because I'm there when I need to be. But I don't have to worry about the whole, like, now what am I supposed to do? Like, am I supposed to just sit here and look around the four walls or twiddle my thumbs? Or do I have to talk to these
Yes.
people? Like, what am I supposed to do right now?
I just sit and I get on social media
Which we're
and I
not
wait.
doing right now.
And then
So,
I know. So I read my Bible or I get on Pinterest.
ah,
Those are my options. Text my mom, text my wife, text you. Yeah. Yeah. So I think the earliest I feel like I've always had anxiety. I feel like I've touched on that slightly on here, but I feel like I've always had anxiety, really. Um Even as like a kid, it was always there. Anxious thoughts and things like that. And I think that my depression really started probably in high school. I mean, it's the first time I remember like getting really low. Um, but it certainly got a lot worse later on in life.
mhm.
Just as I think things got bigger and things got harder.
And I think you became
And
an
I started
adult
to,
and you had
yeah,
more serious things being expected of you. That plays a
yeah,
major factor into it.
and more serious things happened to
Yeah.
me too. And I think that that never helps. And I think that there were like things that I felt like I couldn't talk about with people or things like that. And like, I mean, that's never healthy. That's never a good thing,
Mhm.
you know, to do. So, and that just straight up never helps. But Michaela has been there with me for a couple of really, really low times.
Really
Um,
scary.
and yeah, yeah. Like just under a year ago, I was just it would have been about a year ago. I was like suicidal and had nobody right there with me. My wife was in Mexico for family stuff. Michaela was very far away from me. My grandparents were like 30 minutes away. My aunt was about 30 minutes away. And it really just took like people rallying around me to, take care of me. I went to stay with my grandparents and like it was really hard. Um, since then, I've been in a lot of therapy, which has been really helpful.
Mhm.
But I think the hardest thing about it is the fact you don't want to let people in, and
What do you think that
I
is
think it's
for you? Like, what's the why behind that?
I think that I'm strong enough to get myself through it,
Hmm.
and I think that that's not true.
Yeah.
Not sometimes, yeah, sometimes yes. Most of 99% of the time, yeah, I am, and I've learned a lot of coping skills. I've been in therapy off and on throughout years. Michaela's seen me get really low and then get myself back up again, and but I think that I always tell myself like one, it's you against the world, but also like you can do it and you have to figure it out, instead of just being like, hey, dude, you can't. This right now is not something that you can do. You need to just let people in and like let people help
There's
you.
nothing
Then you
wrong with
can,
that.
you know?
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with
No.
not being able to do something on your own or like needing help to get through something. Like, I feel like that's why so many people get as low as they do because they feel like they don't want to be a burden or like feel like, well, I've been here before. I'll get out of it eventually. And sometimes, unfortunately, that's not the case. Um,
It's not.
and you need
No.
to reach out. You need to suck up the pride that you have. I think sometimes it's a lot of
Mhm.
pride, um,
Mhm.
and recognize that like everyone needs help sometimes. You're not gonna be able to do
Mhm.
everything on your own always,
No. And that's
and it's
okay.
it's healthy. It's healthy to have the ability to reach out and ask for help when you need it.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's people specifically out there trained to help you. There is family members who are willing to do whatever it takes. There is a friend or there is a stranger on the street. Like most people have somebody that they can reach out
Yeah.
to,
I feel
and I think that,
I was just gonna say I feel like what I would hear a lot when we worked with young people that had struggles with mental
Mhm,
health was like nobody's there for me and don't have anyone. And
mhm,
every single time after talking and digging and really reflecting, they had at least one person. At least.
yeah,
And I guarantee you if you're listening to this right now and you're feeling that way, really really
mhm,
look at your life. I can almost
mhm,
promise you that there's at least one person in your life that you could reach out to that would be there for you.
yeah,
Maybe not like a family member, maybe not a friend. It might be someone like a religious leader or a teacher or your friend's
mhm,
mom. Like it might
mhm,
be someone that you least expect, but I promise you there is
yeah,
someone that would be willing to listen to you, a doctor even.
yeah. Someone at work, a boss or a coworker, or the maintenance guy, or like reaching out is scary, but it is the best thing that you can do for
Yeah.
yourself. You know, it takes that pressure off of you trying to figure out things that are really hard and really scary.
Hmm.
Um, and that need to be talked about. Um, I think mental health is something that has to be talked about. You cannot just deal with it in your own head and come out of it, okay. Like
Yeah.
sometimes you need that time. Sometimes you need some time just to like figure out like what are you doing? What are you thinking? Like what is going on? But having somebody to talk about it with helps tremendously.
Or
And
even
maybe they don't have any suggestions for you,
yeah,
but they can sit there
even
and they can hold your
mhm.
hand.
Even just having someone to listen is like really helpful. Like even sometimes I think the most helpful um like people or times that I can recall in my own life is just whenever I'm like I just need someone to word vomit everything out. Like I don't even need you to say anything. I just need to get it off of
Yeah.
my chest. Like let me get it out, tell you how I'm feeling, where I'm at, and then I feel so much better after. And like the other person hasn't even had to say anything, but then I'm like, thank you so much for listening.
Yeah. And that just helps. It just it gets somebody into your own headspace, lets you get every single little bit of it out and feel like somebody is listening.
Yep.
Like what what more do you need? Like not really what more do you need because you need more help than that. But in the end, like sometimes that can be the most help. One of the things, I don't know if they ever told you this, Michaela, when we first went to Galena, but they were like, sometimes you're going to have kids that want to come up and talk to you all the time. But you're also going to have those kids that sit down next to you and you've got 6 feet of space between you and them. You're not even really sitting next to each other hardly. Like it almost doesn't qualify as that. But they will sit and you will sit in silence. They might say one or two words and they're going to walk away and like be thankful for the conversation that was just had because they felt like they were not alone
Yeah.
for however long they were sitting with you.
Yep. And it was true.
And I learned, yeah, kids would come in and sit with us in the RA room, which is just kind of a room that we kept all of our stuff in that we'd open up if we were up there and in the room. And they would just come and sit.
Yep.
And they wouldn't want to talk. And you could continue to work on your work stuff. Sometimes they'd sit on the same couch as you. Sometimes they'd sit on the floor. Sometimes they'd sit on the other couch. Sometimes they would just come and look through things that we had hanging up on the walls and stuff.
Hmm.
But I always felt like it was a good time with there's a few students that come to mind that was like that was a good time. Like they sat in the room with me for longer than they had before, you
Yeah.
know? So they're more comfortable with me, or they actually like talked to me for a second and I was like, that was a barrier broken, and like cool, like I made progress with this kids because they told me hello today instead of just sitting
Yep.
down,
Pretty much.
and I loved it. I loved every moment that those kids would come in and then later on when you and I shared an office, like
Yeah, we would have kids
just come in and just
come in just to like literally sit in silence or like they needed a quiet space
yeah.
and they would come in our office and
Hmm. And sometimes they'd talk and sometimes they wouldn't, It didn't really matter,
Yeah.
you know? Or sometimes they wanted a job, and so we'd be like, hey, you want to organize this, or you want to hang out? Well, I'm going to go over to the sub. You want to hang out? And it was fun.
Right.
It was fun for us. I felt like they needed it, and that was helpful. And I've done that to my people. Sometimes you and I, Michaela, like we'd be like, hey, I don't want to talk. Can I sit in the same room as you?
Yeah.
It's like,
Or like
yeah,
we lived,
I don't want to talk either. So this worked out well.
before our roommate situation happened, like we would have reading parties where we would literally just get books and go all hang out in the same room and literally not speak to one another for hours. And we would just read.
Yeah.
But like it was our version of like quality time. You're with someone. I know it's a weird version of quality time, but like it worked for us when we were in those moods of like, I maybe don't want to be alone right now, but I also have no energy or mental capacity to speak to you right now.
Yeah. And we never felt like we had to entertain each other. And I think that was a big one for me as like an introvert with anxiety was like I never wanted to feel like I was entertaining somebody. I never wanted them to feel like I had to do something in order to get you to stay. It was like I just want to hang out. I don't have to talk to you. It's like a pet dog. Like, hey, when you come sit next to me, I'll give you like a little bit of attention, but like I just
not
want
a
to not be
lot.
alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I love that you just
Like-
called me a pet dog.
If you were a dog, I feel like you'd be a golden retriever.
Told me that
It's a
before,
compliment.
so I take it.
I feel like it's accurate.
I take it.
I have no idea what kind of dog I would be. I don't think I would like
You
the
wouldn't
answer.
be a
I
dog,
don't
you
know.
would be a cat.
That's true. Yeah.
So bam, problem solved. You would not be a
Yeah.
dog.
Yeah. I wouldn't. I like people on my own terms. Thank you very much. And I want to leave with attitude. Thank you very much as well. And feed me. Don't forget to feed me. Thanks.
Oh.
I feel like mental health is not talked about enough in reasonable terms.
I feel like it's almost in a way, I feel like it's obviously been talked about more often recently. But at the same time, I don't feel like it's been a productive conversation. And I feel like it's written or presented in a way where it's almost more damaging.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel that?
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like there have been a lot of people who might be well-meaning that write books or blog posts or things that almost make it feel unachievable. And they're like, hey, if you're feeling depressed, all you got to do is just take a bath.
Yeah.
Take a bath, get a bath bomb in there, put on some lotion when you get out, and you're fine. And I'm like, I don't own a bathtub. I don't have enough money for a bath bomb.
Right.
And I hate baths. I don't fit. And my shoulders get cold. That's no fun. That's not relaxing to me. And I don't have the energy to do that.
See,
like I don't have the energy to go to work, and I still have to.
Yeah. For me, I like baths, obviously. You know this about me. That's like, especially when we lived in Galena, like after work or a particularly stressful day, like a bath was my happy place. That's where I would go to like de-stress from my day. But even still, sometimes like doing something as simple as going to take a bath is draining.
Yeah.
And even if I could do that to take a bath, it doesn't magically cure how I'm feeling,
No.
It does something good for me. It's good self-care, and it does put me in maybe a slightly better mood sometimes maybe not. But yeah, it's not always a simple fix, and I would say usually it's not a simple fix. As simple as do this, or the one that I love to hear, and that's heavy sarcasm, is just don't be sad.
Oh my God, you just cured me.
Wow, I never thought about that one. Wow.
I always get the one for anxiety of, well, just don't worry about it.
Yeah, it's not.
And I'm like, okay, true story real quick. I always try to like show Danny like I don't think she fully understands like what my brain is like. So one time recently we were going to go pick up my sister. She was at a friend's house. When we showed up, they weren't home. That's a pretty normal thing, right? Like they picked up my sister. They probably went to go do something. Pretty normal thing. In my head, immediately, and my gut believed it, which bothers me a lot because I go by my gut. Go by my gut in my head. I'm not like a emotional person when it comes to decisions or like things like that. Was, and I'm gonna say it as close to what my voice in my head sounded like was, they kidnapped her. She's gone.
Oh my God.
And you're never gonna see her again. And in my head was like, yeah, that's probably right. I should start freaking out now. Instead of like, they're probably out getting lunch.
Right.
You know? And then it was like, oh, wait. And I caught that thought because it's something I've been really trying to work on is those like intrusive thoughts of like that are not true, you
Right.
know? But my brain just tells me about everything like you're not going to have enough money to buy that packet of M&Ms when I know I have enough money and I'm putting it on my credit card.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
It's not going to get declined.
So that is something that I deal with almost daily is, mind you, I have it in my account. I know I do because I budget, right?
Yeah.
But every single time I go to buy something, I will pull up my bank account and double and triple check
Yeah.
that I have the money in my account before I hand over my card.
Yeah. So when I was before I started, like I used to have a bank account, but I pretty much only paid cash for things because I just didn't like swiping my card. I never had I got paid cash because I babysat a lot. Like all of my money came through cash mostly, which sounds weird when I say it like that, but I was like a babysitter and like dog sitter and stuff like
We're
that.
young,
So
yeah.
I didn't have Square. But I would sit there and I would count over and over and over again, and I would ignore whatever large bills. I'm pretty free. I mean, I got paid pretty well for what I did, and I would have 20s, and sometimes like a 50 in my wallet, but I would count the ones because like that's what I was going to be paying with because I didn't want to pay any more. I wanted to be careful. I wanted to make sure I didn't have to count my change when I got done.
Oh my God.
But I would sit there and I would count my ones and I'd be like, okay, I have $6. A McChicken is $2. Okay, I have $2. And then I would sit there and I'd count it again. I'd be like, do I have the money right? Yeah, okay. Do I have the money right? Okay, yeah. And like,
because it would be the biggest
why?
It would be the biggest deal in the world if you got to the register and like your card declined. Like what's the worst that can happen? Like, oh, it's a little embarrassing. Like, wait, let me actually get the money into the right account and then give you my card back. Like, literally, there's nothing that's scary that's happening at that point. But like your brain is telling you, oh my gosh, panic now. Make sure, double check, triple check so you don't have to go through this.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, hey, freak out. Let's do that. That's gonna be fun. Yeah. It's like, why am I freaking out? Or those times where I'm anxious, like I will get super anxious sometimes and I'll be like almost shaking and I have no idea why. None. Danny will be like, what are you anxious about? And I'll be like, I don't know. And that bothers me. At least if I have something to be anxious about, I can rationalize that Godzilla is not about to come stand on my house and kill me. Like I can be like, Godzilla is not real. But if there's something that I'm anxious about and I have no idea what it is, it's like
you're literally anxious of the unknown at that point.
Yeah. And how can you argue with something that you don't know what it is? Right.
And you know what like was interesting to me that I don't even know what just made me think of this, but I used to get anxiety about the dumbest things and I didn't even realize that's what it was until years later. I'm talking like in school, I had anxiety and I didn't know it until you pointed out something to me whenever we worked in Galena when I was a dorm maid. And you were like, do you realize that what you're explaining right now is symptoms of anxiety? And I was like, what are you talking about? Because I never before was like, yeah, I probably have anxiety. Never thought that at all. And it was, I would do silly stuff such as whenever we would be reading out loud in class, I would go count what paragraph I was probably going to have to read and rehearse it. Now, I'm a good reader. Why did I feel the need to rehearse what I had to read out loud or practice in my head saying here or literally work up the courage to sharpen my pencil? What?
Because you have
Because I have
anxiety.
anxiety. I didn't know. I
Yeah.
just always thought I was being shy. I always thought that's what it was. Was like, oh, Michaela's just kind of shy sometimes, which was also not true because I'm not shy, and I was not shy in high school. Um,
No.
so yeah, I don't know. It was you pointed that out to me at one point, and also about like getting irritated for no reason,
Mm-hmm.
and you're like,
Yeah.
irritability is a sign of anxiety.
Mine goes that way a
Yeah,
lot. It has actually done a lot better. I did neurotherapy for, oh wow, like 4 months or something like
I did
that.
it for a while.
Um, and it helped tremendously. It's coming back now, and I have a hard time with it because I feel like now I should be able to control it, but I am struggling with it. But that's a big one for me. Like if I'm anxious, like I get really irritable
Yeah.
really easily.
And it makes sense though, because you're like freaking out internally about something that doesn't make sense and you can't control
Yeah.
it. So of course you're going to be irritated. Like,
Mhm.
but
And people don't always understand or don't care to understand, and then you feel like less than that you're dealing with something that you really have no control over. And oh my gosh,
right,
it's just a mess.
right.
It's just a mess.
But
And yeah.
yeah,
Oh, mental health is hard. And I feel like there's never a guide of like, here's what to do. It's always like, all right, we're gonna try this.
yeah.
And then we're gonna
Well,
try this. And eventually we're gonna find a thing that's gonna work,
there almost can't be a
And
guide because everyone's is so different. Like,
yeah.
and like everyone's solution or like remedy, if you want to call it that, is different. So yeah, there's of course like suggestions and things that you can try, but it would be so nice if it
Yeah.
was as simple as go take a bath.
Hmm. That would be so nice. Oh my gosh. I wouldn't have had to spend so much money on therapy and so much money on medication. Oh my gosh. And try the medication. Remember the medication that made me so angry? So
You were difficult to
angry.
live with whenever, whenever
Oh
you're on
my
that
gosh.
medicine.
And I came off of that and I had the worst panic attack I have ever had, like in the process of, okay, let's talk about medication for a minute because I've been on quite a few.
Yeah.
Um, I went on one that was really amazing. That's what I was on when we were lifting, and it was the only reason I think that I was able to stick with it the way that I did. But it gave me the worst migraines after about 6 months, which was a
I
huge bummer because
have
I would go back on
blue.
that thing right now.
Yeah.
I would love to be back on that stuff now. I've went on a couple more, and then I tried one I'm not an angry person. I like to say I'm one of the more chill people that you're gonna meet, but I have anxiety, so it's hard to say that. But if I'm not being anxious, I'm very like, yeah, let's do it. Like go with the flow, like pretty chill. Um, and then I went on that medication, and I can never remember the name of it. I have it written down somewhere. It doesn't really matter if I say it, anyways. And I was so angry, and I had no filter. Like like any filter that I had before was
Like you
gone,
became mean.
absolutely gone,
You became kind of mean.
straight up. Yeah, and I never have been like a mean person. Like the worst thing that I feel like I'll do is I'll rant like later on to somebody else about something,
But
but that's just because I'm like
yeah,
upset or
that's
hurt. It's never because I'm like wanting to call them a bad name,
right.
you know?
Right.
And then coming off of that one was, oh my gosh, that was really rough. I had like a panic attack. I was home alone. I could not calm myself down. And usually I'm at a point where I can like calm myself down when they happen. Oh my gosh, it was bad. And then I went on another one, and I am not kidding. I slept at least 12 hours a day. At
And
least.
you are
Remember that,
not the
Michaela?
person that sleeps long like that.
No. I'm a sleepy person now. Like, but I also don't fall asleep so easy. So I'll sleep in late, but it's because I was laying in bed for 3 hours trying to fall asleep. But it also made me eat. It was like I could never fill the hole that was inside of me. you know?
Yeah.
It's like, oh my gosh, I just want to eat everything. It was like pizza, yes. Hamburgers, oh my god, yes, please. Twizzlers, all of them. I'm starving, you know, and I like never felt full. I gained 30 pounds in like 2 months that I was on them. I was like, what the
That
heck?
whenever we were going to the sub, like all the time to go get
Every
snacks
single
after
night
work. Yeah.
and ice
The
cream
sub,
because I was
yeah,
starving.
the sub was like the student union building on the campus that we worked
And
on, which was literally
yeah,
located right next to where we lived, like the building that we lived in. So
convenient yet inconvenient.
yeah, yeah, and we had the key. Like it would be locked at night. We
Mm-hmm.
had the ability to go get the key and go and help
Yeah.
ourselves to
Put stuff
put
on our
stuff on our
tab.
tab. Yeah,
Boy.
boy is right.
That was 30 pounds. 30 pounds. And I'm actually really close to having all of them off now. And it's been over a year now.
Wow.
So, but I also have been working out. My mental health was bad there for a good chunk of the last year. So, um, I don't even know. We technically don't really even have a point for this podcast. So I feel like I could talk about anything regarding mental health. So I'm gonna, but I feel like in that self-care that I did for myself was things like, hey, I don't want to do anything when you come over and watch a movie, you know?
Yeah.
And there was a lot of that. Or, hey, I need to leave work early. I'm really not doing well. And I did that actually quite a few times, like, hey, I cannot be here. Um, I'm gonna continue to work, but I'm gonna do it from home. You know, and our bosses were pretty good about being like, okay, like I understand. Times of like, hey, I can't drive. My brain's kind of doing some weird things right now with some medication. Or one time, the medication that made me fall asleep, I didn't know. I took my first dose when I got it, and I had to go to work, and I fell asleep at my desk, and I had to go into my boss's office and be like, I'm really sorry. I'm not drunk. I'm tired. And I just read the bottle of my medication and it's going to put me to sleep. And I took it. I'm so sorry. I have to go home.
Oh my.
And he was just like, oh my gosh, you're a mess. But it was, you know, and it was kind of like having to do that instead of like, okay, well, I'm going to drink coffee and get through it. It was like, no, I'm going to go home and I'm going to put myself to bed, you know, because I'm already on medication that I need. I do not need to make myself feel bad about this,
Yeah.
you know? Um, and then on the tangent of making myself feel bad, I feel like this is all over the place.
Hey,
This is how we talk about
this is
mental health
mental
here,
health
okay?
talk, raw and real.
I think it is so important to not make yourself feel bad about it.
Yeah, we
You
kind of
know?
have some like weird ways of coping with it between us, like how we talk
Mhm.
about it to one another, and like the like some might say dark humor that we have towards it, but like sometimes you just have to make jokes about it because if you're
Yep.
not gonna cry about it, you gotta laugh about it. Well,
And I don't like to cry in front of people, so I prefer to joke.
yes, same.
So being nice to yourself through it helps instead of being like, oh my gosh, I suck. I can't get out of bed today. I cannot bring myself to brush my hair. I'm still wearing the makeup that I wore 3 days ago because I can't deal with having to wash it off. It's like, okay, all right. So
Yeah,
maybe tomorrow you'll feel like washing
I
it
think
off,
I
you
think
know?
something like I wish people would have told me too is like be nice to yourself, yes, and be gracious with
Mm-hmm.
yourself, but don't let the people that are going to be around you in your life that don't understand and don't care to understand, don't let their comments get to you. Because
Yeah.
there are
Mm-hmm.
people, there are people in my life that don't believe that it's real, you know,
Yeah.
and it's unfortunate because it's like you feel like okay, you don't think it's real, and I've dealt with this from being like even when I was a teenager. Like you don't understand, you don't care to understand, you think like there's a quick fix to it, or it's as easy as just don't be sad. But like you saying, "Oh, it's not real," or "You're just being dramatic," is completely negating everything that I'm going through. You know?
Yeah.
And I'm really down on myself about that because I'm like, well, am I just being lazy or am I just being disgusting because I haven't been able to take a bath for 3 days? Like,
Yeah.
that low at points, you know? Um,
Mm-hmm.
and no, it's not. You're literally sick. You are sick. You
Yeah.
are going through something mentally, chemically
Mm-hmm.
in your brain, and you have to be nice to yourself even when other people aren't.
Yeah. Because ultimately you have to take care of yourself through this. You do.
Yeah.
You need to do your best. Sometimes your best might not look like somebody else's, even their worst of taking care of themselves, but they are not you and you are not them.
Yeah.
Maybe your worst at taking care of yourself is still better than the way that somebody else takes care of themselves, but they are still trying their hardest.
Yeah.
You know, maybe they haven't done that. I think sometimes something that I have a hard time with is forgetting that I have been through like tons of therapy, tried tons of medication and things like that. And so I need to just chill sometimes instead of being like, hey, you've been through therapy. You should be better than this. You know, it's like, no, nope. No, I have coping mechanisms now that I've found and are tried and true that work for me. My wife she knows some that she can help talk me through things if she needs to,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm not perfect. And sometimes those coping mechanisms aren't going to work, you know?
Yeah.
Sometimes I need something else. Sometimes I literally need a day to be depressed and binge selling sunset,
And
whatever,
binge what?
you know, selling
What?
sunset.
Oh, that show on Netflix.
Yeah, I've been watching it.
I
It's really good.
haven't. I haven't started it because, for one, I can't decide if I would like it. But then I also feel like if I start it, I'm not gonna be able to stop. What is?
It's reality like TV, which I've never gotten into, but oh my gosh, I'm such a fan. And if you watch it, I want to talk to you about it.
Okay.
I need to know who you like and who you dislike because I have mixed feelings on a couple
Oh
people.
my gosh. Okay. That makes me want to watch it.
So you should watch it. I don't know. It's up to you. It's very dramatic. You know, it's very drama TV,
I
but
like reality TV. It's my escape sometimes.
I've never really watched that much of it.
I like it. I don't like drama in my
But
life, but I like it in my entertainment.
I think it's kind of fun when I can be completely removed from it and it literally doesn't affect me in any
Yeah.
way. You know? And it's kind of like, all right. Whatever. But I need to do it when I'm in a good headspace. Otherwise it negatively impacts me. But
That's fair.
um sometimes you just have to be like, okay, no, you get this day. You know?
Yeah.
You get to just do this. You're fine. Take it. And don't feel guilty about it tomorrow. You know? Or like I have a thing where I know myself well enough and I've done this enough where I know that I can give myself a day or two. And if I'm not better by then, I really need to get my butt in gear and start to take care of myself. And that doesn't mean like I'm going to a spa and I'm suddenly drinking green juice. It's like, nah man, you gotta go take a shower. Otherwise you're gonna continue to feel crappy about yourself and you're just gonna make yourself feel worse about it. So go take the shower and then get back into bed, you know? Or hey, go wash your sheets.
Yeah.
They stink. You're not going to feel any better if you continue to lay for the next week in those sheets that stink.
Yeah.
Go do it. Lay on top of your blankets for a little bit, you know? Or doing something that will make me feel better. You know, maybe I go drink a coffee. Maybe I go, you know, have Danny pick me up a Starbucks, like a fancy kind of maybe like a frappuccino, the kind of thing that I don't drink anymore because it's so unhealthy. Or doing something, you know, and it's going to be different for every single person. Yours might not look anything like mine. Maybe you need to journal. Maybe you need to get all of those feelings out, or maybe you need to not lay in bed. Maybe that's hard for you. Maybe you need to just go for a run. I wish I was one of those people.
Same.
I wouldn't probably be fat if when things got hard I exercised. Um I think sorry, rabbit trail. We talked about earlier how we should have named this thing rabbit trails, and I think that would have been a very good topic. um, but something toxic and that has always never felt good to me. That doesn't sound right, but
That has
whatever.
never felt good
Uh,
to you. That's
No, I like always.
You just added an
Thanks.
extra word that you didn't need.
Shh. I'm a writer.
Because
I know what I'm
never
doing.
means always. You know? It's in the word.
Shh. Be quiet. Was the people that were like, well, if you just get outside and go for a run, or if you just go lift weights, then you're gonna feel better. That's what you have to do for your mental health. And it's like, do you want to do you want to let Bianca, who's my anxiety, we named her Bianca, I'm sorry if your name is Bianca, you want to let Bianca know that that's what's gonna work? Because that she doesn't like it when it comes from me.
Right.
You know, it's like, okay, but you're not me and I'm not you. I am not telling you, hey, you're depressed, go lay in bed. Hey, you're depressed, you should probably watch YouTube all day. You know?
Which, can I just pause you on that? Because, yes, I want to say that I'm definitely one of those people that if I'm feeling low, I need just a day or a little while, maybe a few days,
Mm-hmm.
to myself to not see anyone or speak to anyone and just be. But at the same time,
Yeah.
there's a point where you take that too far and you
Yeah.
allow yourself, maybe not allow yourself to get worse, but you are creating the environment that is conductive for you getting worse.
Yeah.
So,
No, I
yeah,
agree.
I just wanted, I mean, I know you agree, but I just wanted to make that distinction on the podcast for people listening. Like,
Yeah.
there is a point where doing that is too much. Like, give
Mhm.
yourself that time, but at the same time, be working towards getting to a better place. And
And yeah, sorry, go ahead.
actually, I think I was done, so go ahead.
I was just gonna toss in there that might not look like going out and going for a walk. That might mean you calling around and finding a therapist. That might mean you checking yourself in or having somebody else check you into a mental health facility. That might not look like what you might call success. But the first time that I got therapy felt like it was a step down from where I was when it was actually like 12 steps
Yeah,
up, you know? And so it might not look like you are in your terms of success being successful or taking a step forward when it really is
I
that,
think
you know.
yeah, I think at some point you need to take away all expectations of what successful mental health looks like and just take
Yeah.
the steps that you know could be beneficial to you. Like, and and
Mhm.
obviously if you're listening to this and you're feeling like this, ask for help. Like, let somebody know where you're at, because keeping it to yourself is only going to cause you to go into a downward spiral, and you're not going to feel better long term. It's not going to be healthy long term. Like, get help, reach
Yeah.
out to someone, um, or like what Megan was saying, call around, see if you can get into therapy, or you know, just
Yeah.
talk to somebody about it.
And there are all kinds of places that are free or are less expensive or who will work with you to come up with something to make sure that you're taken care of. Um I think that was something that always scared me, was like the price tag in front of therapy, because I've never been somebody who just has money. I've always, just had to be really frugal in my life and be, somewhat careful. And so I didn't have an extra two, three, $400 for therapy as many times as I wanted it. And I sure didn't have enough money to get checked in to a mental health facility. But when I decided to start looking, I learned there were quite a few like affordable options. um I was limited because when I started I was looking at or I was in a village, so I just didn't have as many options. But there are places that can help you, and it depends on where you're at. But there's online therapy, there's in-person therapy, there's group therapy, sometimes things like that help. There are, what is, Danny used to go to something, I can't think of it, but it's like a group where you get to talk about everything. It's like AA, but for everybody. And maybe that's the thing that you need to start out with, is just having somebody, or like it doesn't have to look like you pay $100 an hour and you go sit on somebody's stuffy, uncomfortable couch.
Yeah.
You know, There are a million options out there. You just have to find the one that's right for you.
Celebrate
And
recovery.
sometimes if you start out, celebrate recovery. Thank
Oh, it was
you.
bothering me.
And it was bothering me too, but I know my laptop is really loud when I type, so I didn't want to like type it and be like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. But through Celebrate Recovery, you could, I'm sure that there's people who know or can help you get, in contact with somebody who can help you, or a lot of religious centers will offer it, or they will have somebody that they can help you or can help connect you, or community centers, or
just look.
just because basically all of what I could have just said could have just been said to just look, but you know don't give up because you feel like it's going to be expensive. Lots of places will work with you. They don't want to, their goal is to make sure that you don't get worse, so you just have to find the place that works for you.
Yep.
And it's pretty great, and if you can afford $100 an hour, I'm sure that there's people out there who will take it. So, and they'll be helpful. So do it, it's just important to find something.
Yeah.
And it's no matter what you have going on. There have been times where I'm like, hey, I just need like 2 sessions, maybe even just one. I feel like my head is involved in this in a way that doesn't make any sense. And I just need somebody to tell me, hey, this is the way you need to look at it, and it's helpful.
Yeah.
It's not a bad thing. I think it's a good thing. Our kids went to therapy all the time, and I was so thankful when they would do that. It was like, man, like I'm excited for you because you're going to figure out, one, how to be a kid, because your mental illness took that away from you, but also you're going to figure out how to be a functional adult because you weren't going to get there all by yourself. Yeah. And that's hard.
And you're going to gain those coping mechanisms and those tools that you need that you can take with you into adulthood.
And having those coping mechanisms, oh my gosh. One of my therapists once told me, she was like, you need a mental health box. And I was like, is that where I just keep it all or what? Like, well, what does that mean? She was like, no. What you need is like a box where you keep things that either calm your mind or that can distract you or things that you just genuinely enjoy. And so she gave me some suggestions, and recently I never took her up on it, but I've been trying to build that box because I want to have it before I get into the van, because I have a little bit more anxiety when I'm there. So her suggestion was like a coloring book and some pens, or like a couple of tea bags of like your favorite tea, or preferably non-caffeinated, or a Rubik's Cube, or, like the things that just kind of make you happy, like pictures or a journal, something like a stress ball, something really soft, a blanket if you've got the room for that, or, like it could be anything, but the things that make you happy, and have a little box of them. And so every single time that you're having a hard time, you just pull out that box. It's going to become comfortable, and it's going to be something that you can reach out for when you're having a hard time, that just brings you a little bit of comfort, and not necessarily happiness or joy or anything, but it's just like, okay, cool. Like I have this, I have hot chocolate right here, and I can make myself a cup of hot chocolate, and I will have done something for myself today, and I was like, that's freaking brilliant. Like that. And then I never did anything with it, but now here I am doing it. So I have a coloring book and some markers. So, I don't know. I guess if you're struggling, that's a suggestion for you if you want to.
If you want to.
If you want to. But that's kind of a fun one, and gives you, an opportunity. Like if you go to the dollar store, look for something, or if you go to Target and, look through the $3 bin because that's where I'm shopping, or, like just, I think the thing with mental health is you have to set yourself up for success. So creating those things when you're in a good space that will help you later on, does so much.
Yeah.
It is so stinking much. And telling people beforehand or after, like, hey, looking back on that, this is what I could have used. This could have been helpful to me. Or, I gave you that suggestion last time. It really didn't help this time, but I have an idea for tweaking that might work in the future, and all of those are kind of setting you up for success when you're at your lowest. That ultimately will be a huge benefit to you. Because if you have somebody that's like, hey, like, okay, I'm here to ride the waves with you. What do you need? They will have a little bit more information, especially starting out, than you panicking and screaming and they're like, oh, I don't know what to do, because they don't want to make it worse. You know, it's, man, I'm really glad I'm not in my wife's place sometimes. Like, having to just have figured it out. Like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know how to help you, but I want to, you know?
Yeah, that's sometimes the
So,
most like hard place to be in, is like just being the person
yeah.
that's maybe not going through it, but like you're witnessing someone that you care about go through it, and you don't know what to do. You don't know
Yeah.
how to help. You don't know how to make it better. You don't know, what's going to make it worse. What's going to make it, like, what's going to help you. Um,
Yeah.
and that can be really hard too. I know, whenever we were in Galena, being in situations like that was, just in the environment that we were in. uh,
Hmm.
Sometimes that was the most helpless feeling. Just like, I'm not experiencing it. I know what you're experiencing because I can see it happening. I don't know what to do because I don't know what you need, because everyone's is different. And you learn
Yeah.
that, after a while and after discussions of, like you were saying, like talking
Mhm.
to people and letting people know, like, this is what helps me. This is what you could do next time. You learn those things, but
Yeah.
it's not always in the moment, or the first couple of times that it happens. You don't have that knowledge maybe yet. So
Yeah.
how to help. So yeah.
Yeah.
So props to the people that have done that and been there and have pushed through.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I've probably one last thing to say is for the people who do work um with youth, or just with people who have, mental health stuff going on. If you have been there yourself, it makes a huge impact on a lot to hear, like, hey, like, no, I really do know what you're going through, to an extent, like I've been there, even though I don't know, I'm not feeling exactly the same way that you do. I get it,
Mm-hmm.
it might not be 100%, but like, for an example, um I was called once for a situation that somebody was, in the process of self-harm, and I went up there, sat and talked with them, and they were like, you're never going to understand, you've never been through something like this, which makes sense that they would have no reason to believe differently. And I was like, no, dude, like I did, and they were surprised, and then they were like, oh, and kind of like felt a little bit more comfortable. They weren't super comfortable, but they let me go and like bandage them up, and it was kind of like that step. And then next time it was like, hey, you know, I'm concerned about you because I'm seeing some risky behavior. You want to talk about it? And they didn't want to, but they were, it was kind of just like that little bit of a step. Like, hey, now we're talking. Hey, now we're talking a little bit more. Hey, now you're letting me, clean you up and make sure that those aren't going to get infected. Hey, now you're handing over what you used, and kind of like making those little baby steps to ensure like their safety, but that's also showing like it's rewarding them with being vulnerable in showing that you care.
Yeah.
Um and that might be really hard. When I told, them, that was one of the first people that I wasn't close to that I'd shared that with, was like, oh my gosh, I'm shaking, I'm sweaty. This shouldn't be this hard. Because I'm doing it for their own best thing. But that said, though, you don't have to share everything that's happened with you. I'm not going to share everything that's happened with
No,
me.
and you don't need to go into details. It just like
Uh-uh.
just like the knowledge of knowing that. I think for me, I always put myself in, like, the mental state of me as a teenager. Like, what did I need? What would have been
Yeah.
helpful to me or beneficial to me, and what would have meant a lot. And
Hmm.
had I had, I think,
Yeah.
as a teenager, it was always, I grew up in the church, and so they would talk about self harm because self harm was a big thing. Um, whenever I was a teenager, and they would always talk about that, and you
Mhm.
would always hear about that, but you wouldn't hear about anxiety or depression. Um,
Mhm.
which I mean, sometimes they go hand in hand, but not always. And
Mhm.
they would talk to you about all of that, and turning to God for it, which is great. But never did someone in leadership or an adult, someone that was saying all these things, come out and say, I've been there.
Yeah.
This is what I went through, and it sucks, but it's going to be okay. Like, you can make it through. And I think just coming from that perspective and working when we were working with teenagers and stuff, like, that meant a
Yeah.
lot to them. And I know that because some of them would
Mhm.
say so. Um, for another
Yeah.
example, we had groups of communities of students that we were responsible for, and we would meet with them and talk about different stuff every week or every other week whenever we were getting together. And Megan and I uh, both did one once on mental health, and where we just literally sat
Mhm.
there. They weren't required to talk, but we just sat there and told them, like,
Mhm.
hey, we get it, like, we've been there, and if you're struggling with this, like, it's gonna be okay. Like, it sucks, but
Yeah.
like, people before you have gone through it, and we made it out, and we understand. So if you need somebody to talk to, like, come and
Yeah.
talk to us, and it's opening that door. And so
Mhm.
I think it's important for that. Like, put yourself in the
Yeah.
shoes of the generation below you, of, like, who did you need when you were that age? What did you need?
Yeah. 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 There was a quote that I read that pretty much says exactly that, was just be who you needed when you were younger. And it
Yeah,
was like, yeah, that was kind of the mentality that I always tried to have with them, was who did I need? You know, what did I need from them? And it was, to see like, hey, bro, you're not alone, like you might feel like it, but there's somebody else here for you, and we'd always bring up to the kids because we did work there and all of that, but we'd just be like, hey, even if you feel like you have nobody else, like, who is your RA? Who is your favorite staff member? Who is there somebody in the community? Talk with them. We're more than happy to make sure that that happens. Do you want me to call them? Do you have their phone number? Like, can we help you set up that time to have somebody that you feel comfortable with talking to? Because it's a lot easier to start it when you're younger than it is to start it when you're in your 20s or your 30s or your
yeah,
40s, because then you get to start making that progress. And it just is so helpful. Ultimately, it's just so incredibly helpful. Um, and people want to see you, be successful and be happy. And you got to start somewhere, and that's a good one to start with, is just tell somebody
yeah,
and be open. Not fully. I mean, you don't have to tell them every single thing, but just be like, hey, like, I'm struggling today. Will you sit with me? Hey, I'm struggling with today. Will you pray with me? Um will you watch a movie? Or will you go and pick me up something from the store really quick? Or like, reaching out for help is the most amazing place to start, because it'll make it so that you're not alone going through something hard. Um, and then you got somebody
yeah,
ultimately, which is really good. Um,
for
I
sure.
feel like our friendship really grew when we started to really talk about like our mental health stuff. I feel like that's when we got a lot closer. Um, because it was kind of like, oh hey, no, I get it, you know?
Yeah. Well, you were, like, really kind of the first person that I ever talked to about any of it. Just because, like I said,
Really?
yeah. Did you not know that?
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Surprise. Um, back to
I feel honored.
honestly, you should, because you made me feel comfortable enough to talk about it. Just back to, like, growing up the way that uh, I don't want to say growing up the way that I did, because it's not like people in my life weren't supportive. I just think that it was expected, or I felt that it was expected of me to have it all together. And not by anyone in particular. I'm sure I put that on myself. But
Yeah.
so I didn't feel like I could talk about it. And no one else was talking about it. So I really felt like I
Mhm.
couldn't talk about it. Um,
Yeah.
so, going to Galena and it being like like this is what we talk about here.
Yeah.
Very different. Very different from
Yeah.
what I was used to. So
I think it was important that it was recognized that the helpers also needed help. Because we did deal with a lot of really, really, really stinking hard
really hard.
stuff that a lot of us had never faced before. And so you hear about the things that have happened to kids or in their lives or whatever, and you come home and you're just like,
Really
oh,
affected by
like,
it. Yeah.
geez, like I haven't been through that, but man, I feel like I have 12,000 pounds on my shoulders and I want to go throw up. And I also want to just sleep. Like I'm just exhausted. And so we had to check in on each other.
Yeah.
Like we had to. Otherwise, none of us were going to be okay
Right.
because that's just stinking hard stuff. And we ultimately were not trained for that. We didn't go through training to be therapists and learn how to deal with that in our own head.
Yeah.
We were tossed into a situation where we got the minimal amount of training and we're like, okay, you guys are gonna hear some hard stuff. Have fun,
Yeah.
you know.
They
And
tried.
I don't blame them.
No, and they tried, to give us ways to deal with situations, but ultimately, yeah, I mean, it was hard. There was a lot, and it was a hard stuff,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it, yeah, but we made it through, and
and
I
we did.
definitely learned a lot
Yeah,
about
yeah.
myself.
Had to handle it with other people and handle it yourself
Yeah.
as well. I think both of us really grew in that,
Oh, for sure.
which was really good, and it was very needed. I think on both sides, and um, I mean, I'm not thankful that I went through it, but I'm thankful I went through it. If that makes any
I'm
sense.
thankful. Yeah,
Um,
I'm weirdly thankful that I went through it because I definitely think
yeah,
like while it was hard, it allowed me to grow as a person, obviously, but it also gave me
yeah,
the tools that I was talking about that like um I better understand how to deal with things now and I can give those tools to other people. So that's the part I'm
yeah,
thankful about is like having the ability to be like, hey, I recognize that you're going through something hard. Let me like be there for you. Here's some things that I learned that maybe could help you. And if not, that's okay. But like if so, great.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
anyway, I think we've talked about this for quite some
Yes.
time.
So I think if you guys ever have any questions or things you want us to talk about for this, as always, let us know. You can find us on Instagram and Twitter. Should be linked below in the description. Um, I feel like this is a topic that we're both really passionate about, especially having worked with it in different capacities for years,
As well.
personally and professionally. Not professionally because that makes us sound like therapists, but we worked in a school district and
We
helped
worked
kids.
in
So
residential life and a boarding school.
yeah,
So
yeah,
it was something that we dealt with on the daily there. Um,
yeah,
and also practicing
yeah.
the daily
So
with ourselves. So
yeah, yeah. So I wouldn't say happy to talk about it because it's like not a super fun, chipper topic to talk
we're
about,
willing to
but
talk about it.
yeah, yeah, we both are really passionate about this, I think.
Yeah.
So, if you have things you want us to talk about, we're happy to do so. And if you've got questions, you know where to find us. And thank you for listening, and we'll see you next
Yes.
week.
And remember, if you're struggling, reach out. Please reach out.
Yes. Yes, please do.
But we'll talk to you guys next week and have a good one. Bye, guys.
Bye.